How do you transition through life's changes? Do you embrace them, run from them? Today I'm speaking with Nicole DeBoom, former professional triathlete and founder of Skirt Sports, which is about 90% of my clothing. We dig into the transitions of her life and lessons of her transformative moments, including motherhood, entrepreneurship, and even surfing. You do not want to miss this one. Hey there, I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate in the process. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you are called to do. And let me tell you about someone who has been living her purpose and her calling, and that person is Nicole DeBoom. I rarely do this, but I'm actually recording this intro right after we talk because I'm so excited for you all to hear the little just nuggets of wisdom Nicole offers throughout this entire show. If you don't know her, you'll quickly understand why she is beloved within her community and industry. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. Nicole was born and raised in the Chicago suburbs. She was a standout swimmer. She qualified for the 1988 Olympic trials, big time, you guys, and later graduating from Yale University. She decided to pursue the sport of triathlon and got really lucky when her seat assignment on a plane introduced her to her future husband, future two-time Ironman world champion Tim DeBoom, on a flight to the 1995 ITU World Championships. Nicole started racing professionally in 1999. She racked up countless podium finishes. Her triathlon career culminated in a win at the 2004 Ironman Wisconsin. And in that win, she was wearing a prototype of the first ever running skirt. And this skirt, let me tell you, would launch a revolution in women's fitness clothing just a few months later. Nicole founded Skirt Sports in September 2004 with the mission of helping women find inspiration, confidence, and courage through the transformative power of running and fitness. We talk a lot about this today. Today, Skirt Sports is a national women's apparel brand offering full line of products that fit real women's bodies and support their busy running lives. As of August 2020, Skirt Sports continue to empower women as part of the Zuma Race Series family of brands. I'm going to tell you about a little story when I did a Zuma at the end, so make sure you stick with me. Currently, you can find Nicole helping women change their lives through the nonprofit organization Running Start, interviewing visionaries on her popular podcast Run This World, and chasing around her 8-year-old girl, Wilder. Now, if you've been listening a while, you will hear in my voice that I'm a little giddy over here over this interview. I was part of the Skirt Sports ambassador community for several years, and this was just so super fun and cool to me to be able to sit down face to face and have an hour-long conversation. We have just jam-packed conversation, and I cannot wait for you to hear. Let's bring on Nicole. Oh my gosh, Nicole, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, we've been trying to put this together for months, and it's finally happening. I'm so proud of us.
I don't know. It's more, I'm impressed with you. I mean, your life has been bananas lately. I mean, just pure bananas. So I want to start with just saying, how are you today? Like, how has Nicole DeBoom's day gone today?
Oh, today. Gosh, I love this approach because every day is really different right now. I'm actually having like a kind of an emotional day. I'm in this new amazing town where we just moved literally over a week ago. And it's called Steamboat Springs, Colorado. It's a small town, like 15,000 people. It just has everything. And I love it. And I'm super happy about the move. But, you know, I woke up and the first thing I did was went into my daughter's bedroom and she was laying there and she's like, Mom, I was working on something. I want to talk to you about it. And it's a really cute way to wake up. My daughter Wilder, she's 8 years old. But then it moved into this discussion that we've been having for the past week, which is, why did we have to move? I had all my friends are in Boulder. Like, I don't
Oh,
like being the new kid. You don't have any friends when you're the new kid. And it breaks my heart. And I know it's been 1 week, right? I
yeah.
know in 1 month it'll even feel different, but so I move from a lot of emotions in just a very short period of time. You wake up, you're kind of excited. What's the day going to bring? I'm not working right now. To, oh, now I'm taking on my child's emotions and
Yeah.
really sort of owning them myself, which I shouldn't, but I can't help it. Yeah. And then we got her off to school, and Tim and I went on a bike ride, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of up and down right now. There's a lot of like emotions right on the surface at this
Mhm.
point in my life.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure there is. And I think too, I don't know how your brain works, but mine, I tend to kind of internally process a lot of stuff, and especially when I'm dealing with my own emotions and my own situations, and then when we layer on our kids. And there's this tension of like, my heart is with you, and I want so badly for you to be happy, and sometimes we don't have a whole lot of control over where they are, and then trying to help them sort through those emotions, and then sometimes it tugs us in one way or another, and so I totally get that, totally.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if we're all wired like this, but I definitely am, because before Wilder, I did the same thing with my husband. So I was
Oh,
constantly monitoring how he's feeling and then trying to help him feel better, which is the
mhm.
last thing he wanted. And the source of, much of our angst over the years is me trying to make him feel better when I have no, business trying to really do that, but I can't help it.
Yeah,
And then when we had our daughter, I stopped worrying about making my husband feel better, but then I do it with her.
yeah,
And I think there's just I need to work on this sort of, maybe the lesson for me is I need to work on letting go. This is something I've been doing a lot in my life lately, but I haven't applied it in this form yet,
yeah,
right? To this exact concept. So
yeah.
this may be a new thing I get to work on in this new place in life.
This season, yes. Yeah, that's definitely a hard habit to break, of trying fix or to make everybody feel better. And you're such a natural optimist, um, that it's I can see why that would be, what do they call it? An opportunity for you, right?
Yes, absolutely. And while we're sitting here, my foot is cramping because I'm, having so much fun going out and playing around that my body is just like exhausted every day. And eventually, here, I'm not sure if it's going to settle in and I'll have days where like I'm not so tired, or if this is what the rest of my life looks like. Daily adventures, podcasts with amazing people, cramping feet, it's growth
Well,
all
I'll
the
tell
way
you,
around.
I just interviewed a physical therapist yesterday. He would tell you you need to listen to that.
Yes, when's that one going live?
I don't remember where it is, but I think I'll let you know when it is. It's with Dr. Tug Carbo, and he's fantastic. He's really, really good. Okay, so you and I have been talking about doing this podcast for a while, and then the wheels started running. And I know you have your own podcast, Run This World with Nicole DeBoom. So I have to imagine you know what I'm talking about. You're like, okay, I have this guest, and what direction do I, kind of where do I want to go? And there's just different elements, and sometimes it's a little more clear, and sometimes it's not. So, you have had quite a run, and no pun intended, in the last 20 years. And as I started thinking about all of these little pivotal moments that I kind of wanted to either unpack or dig into, I realized they all had a theme, and that theme was transitions. So I had to laugh when you filled out I have a little pre interview form online, and you mentioned transitions. And I was like, okay, we are right on the same page. So just to bring everyone up to speed, I started thinking about, what I know of you. And these are some of the transitions I wrote down that you have experienced, which does not include getting married because you and I both got married when we were babies. And so all of this has been done with Tim, your husband. But these are the transitions I've written down. Okay, so you shifted from a pro athlete to an entrepreneur. You grew an amazing company. You became a mom. And some of these are not necessarily in chronological order. You developed a sober lifestyle. You led 1,000, I'm putting this in quote, delusionally optimistic women, thank you, Dr. James, in a thriving community focused on love, encouragement, and acceptance. You sold your company and you moved. What did I miss?
You pretty much covered most of it.
Most of it. Okay. So that's a lot of transitions to go. And I'm curious as you reflect, because I know that you seem to be someone who reflects on your own life. What has grounded you in these transitions?
Well, first of all, it's a lot of transitions when you put it that way.
Yeah, well, that's because it is.
It makes me feel like I've done a lot.
You have.
It's kind of fun to
Has
hear
no
it.
one told you this?
It's kind of fun to hear it all at once. I mean, the whirlwind of the last 6 months to year has really been, the most intense, I would say, because it's brought many elements together. I think what grounds me, and it's no joke, is to make sure that I include fitness in my life. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I
Okay.
have to do it. If I am feeling, like my feet aren't quite touching the ground and I don't know which way is up, I need to make sure that I get outside and move my body. And it's not always outside, but it's interesting because I think that's been a part of me. I mean, fitness, the importance of fitness has been a part of my, I don't know, my life philosophy since I was really young. I just didn't really know it until I got older and reached a point in my life where I really needed to kind of put it to paper. And that actually happened right after I graduated from college and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I was starting to maybe dip my toe into the waters of depression or despondency, right? And a therapist actually told me at that time, she kind of gave me this little exercise to do. And she said, why don't you take a moment and write down all the times in your life that you have felt the most alive, that you have felt happiest, that you have felt most like your true self. And I just started writing all these things down. And she said, just write and then come back to it and keep coming back to it until you see some pattern or a message arise from it. And the message that came to me was when my body is fit and strong, my mind is fitter and stronger too.
Oh, okay. You have to say that again.
Yeah, I wrote that down when I was 22 and it still applies. When my body is fit and strong, my mind is fitter and stronger too.
That's a meme right there.
It is. Boom. Done. Over and out. See you later, Amy. But I think the message is that I don't need to go out and like win Ironmans, but I need to go move my body for 20 or 30 minutes. And sometimes it is literally just a trudge down the street. Like I might say I'm even going to go out for a run or a hike. And I'm like, I can barely walk. So today I'm just walking.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to hear you say that because I have always wondered how one transitions from being a professional athlete to not being one. Tom Brady described it once. He said, "My body is an asset." I think it was maybe during an Oprah interview, and it could seem like you turn into like you almost have a transactional relationship with your body where, okay, well, I'm going to do this and we're going to do this. And then because of that, we're going to run faster or win more Ironmans. I never know what the right word to say is, but then you stop training hours and hours a day. And I have to imagine you start experiencing your body in different ways. And it sounds like maybe there was a little bit of a bridge that you had to find and then walk through during that process. So I'm wondering, um, when you stopped as a professional athlete and then continued on as a recreational athlete, because I think that we're all athletes, right? When we move and we're using our bodies, how did that have any changes in your relationship with your body?
That was a long road. It's a really good question because you're right. When you're a professional athlete and your income and your livelihood depend on how fast, how hard, how far, you can go, then your priorities are all about keeping that fueling that machine, right? Making it run the fastest and cleanest you can, and you kind of turn off eventually. I think parts of your brain kind of go dormant.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, I didn't really realize this until I had the idea for skirt sports, and my mind just opened up in ways that it hadn't worked for a decade. Because I was so focused on things like my splits, my times, what training I was going to do that day, what fuel I was putting in my body. And suddenly there was this whole new world that was allowing me to explore, challenge myself in ways that weren't physical.
Yeah.
Right. And it inspired me more than I ever imagined it would. In fact, I couldn't shut my brain off. And I think every athlete has a different transition and some never do. And that's really hard. And my husband, Tim, he sort of falls in that second camp. He's wanted to transition. He watched me stumble into a passion and thought, well, I'll stumble into a passion one day like that. And
Mhm.
it just didn't quite happen for him yet. I mean, he's kind of getting there now. Moving was like a big part of that. Sometimes I think you have to force the transition. But
Yeah.
for me, it wasn't forced. I just had this new idea. And what I did is I was still racing triathlons as I was pursuing the idea of creating this feminine line of women's clothing that would like revolutionize, the fitness industry. And all of a sudden one day, I just realized that I was putting way more time and energy into this new idea and way less time and energy into training and racing. And
Mhm.
it just became apparent after I tested the idea for skirt sports that that was the new path. And so it was literally like this clear transition. Like the story of my last race is kind of interesting because it was in August of 2005. I had launched my company, had won an Ironman the year before in a prototype of the skirt, and then had launched my company the few months later in early 2005. And I was still racing because in my mind, I thought I needed to race to help the company get off the ground.
Yeah, oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
out there and I'm racing and I was able to kind of fake it for a while. Like I was still performing pretty well. But come August, now it had been months where I was putting in half the amount of training I used to do. And this was the Chicago Triathlon, a race that I had been second place 3 years in a row, one of the biggest short course races in the country. And I was at the expo now. Now I'm at the expo with a booth selling skirts, talking to customers on my feet all day for Friday and Saturday. Come Sunday morning, you know, I get off the swim and the bike and I'm running along and I'm in 12th place. And I had never been out of the money in a race before. And 10th place was money. And I was like, I'm out of the money. I think I'm done. And I really didn't have any negative emotion. I was just like, this really hard. It really hurts. My body's not faking it anymore. I've
Yeah.
shifted. I am now going to become the skirt. and lead this new revolution, and literally left my running shoes in the transition that day. That was it. Boom.
Wow. Wow. And it sounds like, when you talk about it, your brain becomes dormant, maybe it opened up a door that you were really ready to shut. You were ready to shut the room behind you off.
Yeah,
Well,
but can I just speak more on the point
yeah.
of like, when you go from being competitive in something to being recreational, it's not a clear black and white line. Like me quitting racing was, but
Uh-huh.
I still had some competitive drive and I still wanted to push myself in sport. I knew I wasn't going to be a pro triathlete anymore. I couldn't give the time and energy to that. It literally took until I was pregnant with my child, which was 2011, about over 5 years later, when I finally accepted that not doing 2 workouts a day was okay. I literally was so trained and it was so
Yeah.
ingrained in my mind that that was normal that it took adding a whole nother big thing to bring me down to a completely different level. And after Wilder was born, I don't think I competed in anything again. Now I do sport totally for fun, but it
Yeah.
really was an evolution and it did take some time.
So that's what I call, I'm working on this book called, it's tentatively titled, I Have to Work Off Dessert and Other Rules to Break. And I think that we all have these rules that we grow up with, and they're different for every one of us. And so for you, what I'm hearing you say is one of your rules was you have to work out twice a day because, as a competitive high school swimmer and collegiate swimmer and then professional triathlete, I mean, that was just something your brain had created, those deep neurological grooves, and that's hard to get out of. Those are hard rules to break when you start, when you grow up learning that's how it's supposed to be.
You're absolutely right. It's habit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
habit takes a long time to break and it takes a long time to create. And that's why it's hard to create new habits.
It is. And I think they are just as hard to break as it is creating sometimes, because we've developed those pathways that are so we don't even realize they're there. We don't even realize we're there. Okay, so I'm glad you brought up skirt sports, because obviously I want to talk to you about that. One thing I say at the beginning of every episode is I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, which, by the way, is a little ironic because I really struggle with the nutrition part. But it wants you to know your eating, your movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. So you probably don't know this, Nicole, but you actually are a big part of my story and how I kind of came to that statement and to that mission. Um, I want to tell a story, but before it, I want the listeners to know that this is not the right story. This is an inaccurate story. But you were sharing one time the impetus of skirt sports and how you were on a training run in Colorado and you looked at yourself in like the window, which kind of acted as a mirror. And this is the inaccurate part. But what I heard you say, what my brain processed between my ears, was that you thought, I don't like the way my butt looks. I wish I could cover it up. Now, I have since clarified with you. So I want to stop here and give you a chance to clarify that and say the right part of the story.
Well, that was sort it all goes together. That was a little more focused around the actual first skirt, right? But what I actually thought when I saw my reflection in the storefront window that day was I look like a boy. I
Okay.
don't feel like my feminine self, and I was uninspired because of it.
Right.
And I also will admit that today, 15 plus years later, I don't feel as great saying that out loud, because it feels, when I say that it makes it seem like it's not okay to
Right.
not to look however you want to look. And gender is so fluid, and I fully embrace that. But that is what I thought then. And that's part of my story. And ever since I was a little girl, I was very paranoid because people thought I was a boy. They would literally direct me to the
Mm.
men's bathroom in a gas station. I'd be like, but where's the girls? Like in the highest voice I could, but still, so it kind of created this, I would say, deep-seated gender reaction with me
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
always wanted to shout out, I'm a girl. And you know how you do that? By having long flowing hair, and my hair never has grown long in my life. It won't grow. This is the longest it
I was
gets.
going to say,
My
this is the
shoulders.
longest I've ever seen you have it.
So yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. And when that thought came to mind, I was like, why can't I just look pretty? Why do
Yeah.
I have to feel like my options are to go out and turn myself into a boy to go work out? Why can't I be a girl and a woman and be feminine and take that part of myself with me? So
Right.
that was it's a long-winded,
Well,
response to your question.
well, and I'm glad, yeah, thank you for clarifying that. But what is interesting to me, and part of my story and my relationship with you is when I heard that, what I processed was, if a professional triathlete isn't happy with her body, then I'm never going to be either, unless I change my mind and if I get my mindset right. And that that really helped me along with my own story and my own process of um, embracing my body. And it's funny because you talk about feeling wanting to feel pretty and cute, and I have these really strong muscular legs. I always have, and one of my favorite products. I think I own more of these than anything else, and I literally own count. Like I don't even, I didn't even want to, I wanted to count it before we got on to tell you how many pieces I have, but I don't want record of that anywhere. I don't want my husband knowing how many pieces I have purchased. But I love the lioness, which is pleated all the way around, and I feel feminine in it, and I feel pretty in it. And so it kind of, as I started thinking about our conversation, why is it, do you think, that skirt sports resonated with women so much? I mean, there are a lot of athletic companies out there, and you created the very first running skirt. But I still feel like that skirt represented something so much deeper than just something to make you look pretty. So, talk to me a little bit about that, because I know you've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people.
Yes. And at the heart of it, I think it's two words: freedom and fun.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that is when you drive it all the way home. Those are the two words that are really important to women, and they weren't available in the previous forms of apparel out there.
Yeah.
So back in the day, 15 plus years ago, when I started, women who were runners or athletes, they had a couple of options for their bottom. They could wear running shorts, which rode up and bunched up, and you spent your whole run pulling them out between your legs, and then you got the dreaded chub rub,
Jay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And pretty much, some women's thighs don't touch, but most women's thighs do.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
was a problem, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the spankies that were built in, they were like granny panties, and they were like super puffy. And it was just like, they were horrible products. And, not all of them were, but for the most part, they just didn't fit real women's bodies. And
Right.
that's another important part of this is the other option people had was spandex, literally like spandex that showed everything. So you could either wear spandex or running shorts. And I decided that I would sort of combine the best of both, and took a cue from like Venus and Serena, who were crushing it on the
Yes.
courts, looking amazing in their,
Yes.
tennis wear. And I was like, we need to add some fun and flair to running. So yeah, creating a skirt with the built-in shorts that, eliminated the thigh chafing,
Mhm.
allowed for pockets when we
Mhm.
didn't have those before, and at the end of the day, covered more.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to me because when I launched, it became a very controversial product. It was really polarizing. I don't know if you remember this, but people were not happy. A lot of women runners were not happy about the skirt. They said, "You wear a skirt, you're not a serious athlete." And I was like, "Well, can you see this photo of me winning an Ironman wearing a skirt?" Like,
Yeah.
let's just say that maybe you can be.
Yeah.
But there were also women who were just like, "Why should I feel like I have to look cute when I run?" So there was that whole side of it that I kind of touched on earlier. And my message today is you can look however you want to look. I just
Exactly.
wanted to create options.
Right.
And, it became the symbol too that was like sexy. To wear a running skirt was like considered sexy. But what's funny is it actually covered more. So by covering more, that became, that made people feel like they were more sexy. I don't know, maybe because it felt more flattering. It increased your confidence. Sexiness is all about confidence at the end of the
Totally.
day.
Yeah.
And there's a little like illusion, like, huh, I wonder what's under there. And you would think by showing more, you're trying to be sexy, right? But at the end of the day, like, so there was a little bit of controversy, like you're trying to wear this sexy thing out running and trying to, make me feel like I have to look cute. And it's like, no, it's not about trying to be sexy. It's not about trying to look cute. It's just about trying to feel great about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And the confidence. And I think too, one of the things that I love about skirt sports is it really the broad range of sizes. And I know you a couple years ago moved into the 1X to 3X sizes. And, I have a client who is well endowed on up top, and she loves the sports bra. She was like, I can't find any other bras that fit me. And so all of a sudden, women who were almost prohibitive because they couldn't find the right clothes to just move in. Now they can. And I think that really opened up the door for a lot of women to move freely, to move, having fun and have confidence in that as well. And not hurt with those stupid chafed thighs, which I get too, by the way. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Totally. I mean, here's another funny thing is we started this hashtag many years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago. It was called Real Women Move.
Yeah.
And the idea was we use real women, meaning like our
Real
community
sized women.
in our marketing, in our size fittings, in our studio photography, all of it. And then the word real came under fire. And people were like, well, what's a real woman? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense too. So then we kind of reframed ourselves as the women who move community. Right.
Right.
And yeah, my whole goal is I don't want to leave people out. There are way too many brands out there who still leave people out of their community. They don't allow them to participate in the wonderful things they do. And I didn't want to be that brand. So
Yeah.
we expanded our sizing to help women who maybe are just entering athletics or women who are just naturally, in
Yeah.
the plus size range. Now they can participate in what we do.
Right. Right. And I love that. And I love you for that. Okay, I want to take a little bit of a pivot because I'm curious. So you and I are about the same age. And I know that I have had to really shift how I have been moving in the last 5 to 8 years. I'm wondering if you have experienced the same. And I remember, I don't even know what it was. It was one of your podcasts, but you were talking about, you're like, oh, I'm kind of starting to get this tweak. And then I'm thinking, well, I'm not doing enough transverse movements. And I'm like, she either really knows her stuff or she has a really good trainer. But so it's probably the first thing. But I'm just curious, and like you're talking about, like, is this how I'm just going to feel? Like when you're talking about earlier, is this just how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life? And you live in such an active community. Boulder, I know, was really active, and Steamboat Springs. Oh my gosh! By the way, that's like one of the few places that my family will go to snow ski because the elevation is lower. And here, living at sea level, we have to be aware of that. Anyway, sorry. But I'm just wondering, what has fitness, because fitness grounds you, what has fitness looked like for you in the last, I don't know, 5 to 8 years, we'll just say.
Definitely evolved. I like
Yeah.
to say, I used to be a hardcore swimmer. I used to be a hardcore road cyclist, and I used to be a hardcore runner. And I used to hit the gym a little more regular or in different ways, right? So now I've traded in my goggles for stand-up paddle or
Okay.
my occasional surfing trips when I can make them happen. Um, that's my love of water will never go away. Swimming will always be there for me. It just won't be competitive. I
Hmm.
don't own a road bike anymore. I mountain bike and I love it. I don't even know how far I go. I probably go 5 miles in 3 hours. I don't know. Mountain biking's hard and it gives
Yeah.
you a different kind of fitness, but it's so fun and you don't have to worry about cars. I don't really run much anymore. So that's another tough thing because running is a sport that's easy for people to do. And that was very ingrained for me for many, many years to just get out and run. But I've got injuries. I am an extreme case of pushing my body the limits. And so I hike. I am happy and excited in Steamboat to be doing all the snow things. So we'll be doing Nordic skiing. I'm going to learn snowboarding. I'll do some alpine skiing. I'm just going to play. We're going to do it all. And that's what I look forward to now is exploring, adventuring, um, playing with the things that are in your backyard. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I mentioned my body breaking down. I have two areas that I need to maybe get a little more serious about now that I don't have a job, can work on myself a little bit more. Um, Believe me, I'll start working again someday. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but one of those things is I have this bursa on the back of my heel that just comes and goes from being super inflamed. And it's been probably a decade and it's been managed. And, I need to keep my finger on the pulse because I don't want
Mhm.
to have surgery in my life either.
Right.
I do not
Totally.
want to. And the other thing that's happened is I kind of got into like really fun hit workouts and gym workouts and a lot of jumping and impact stuff. And apparently, I didn't know this, but I had a genetic predisposition to spondylolisthesis. And for anyone listening who knows it, it's often called spondy. And what happens is your two vertebrae are connected and they have the transverse processes, and there is a fracture in between two of them. And for me, it's down in my lumbar region. And so what happened is I started to notice that there was a bump on my back. Well,
Right.
one of my vertebrae, the fracture, moved and it slipped. And so the other vertebrae slip the other direction. And so I kind of have a dip in my back and my vertebrae sticking out and the little transverse processes are, holding it together at this point. But I have to be careful about a lot of impact sports now because I don't want it to progress to the next level or the next level because
Right.
you can't go backwards on that. You can't reverse it. So if I can maintain it, then hopefully there's no surgery in my future and no fusions and all that stuff. But it's become more painful. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Mountain biking doesn't bother that?
right now, not the way I do it. not like I'm not like getting big air or anything off the jumps. I'm just having fun out there and
Yeah.
actually just get some good shocks on your bike. But
Okay.
eventually, I mean, it might. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah.
So, what I know in my mind is that there will always be a sport available for me, and
I love that.
that is
Yeah.
true. At the end of the day, I'll probably end my life swimming just like I started it. There's a reason all the old people are in the water wearing their big swim caps with the flowers on them because it's therapeutic. And
Yeah.
in Steamboat, we've got the most amazing year-round outdoor pool that's fed by a sulfur hot spring. It's a healing pool.
Ooh, I didn't
So,
know about that.
yeah, and it's
Cool.
warm. Oh my god.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I do sport to for the thrill of the adventure. I do sport that puts a smile on my face. That's what I do now.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me happy. I say that my soul belongs in the mountains. And so I'm just like, I'm so happy for you and really envious at the same time for you to have all of that.
Get up here and visit.
I will. I will. Okay. So let's talk about surfing because you learned to surf just a few years ago. And from the outside in, with me just hearing you talk about it either on your podcast or and, other places on the socials, it seemed to be very transformative to you. And I suspect maybe that was not what you expected out of that. So I was wondering if you can tell me about learning to surf and then really what it means to you because I just have a feeling it holds a really special place in your heart.
You're good. You really pick up on stuff. Because it was transformative. And often the most transformative things are the ones that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, there was something about surfing, learning how to surf in Costa Rica, surrounded by a group of women who are all going through things in their lives that made it more of an experience than a simple like 1, 2, 3 tutorial, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure what it was. But once I got in the water and felt that warm water, and there's an exhaustion that comes at the end of a day where you work so hard. I literally, the whole week, my body was just buzzing. I felt when I was out of the water like I was in the waves.
Uh-huh.
And the few waves that I caught on that first trip fueled me for an entire year. I wanted to go back so bad. And so I did. I've gone back to Costa Rica 3 years in a row, and every year I got better and better. Last year I was catching some of my own waves and, learning more technique. And I think the other part of it that's really fun is it is so enjoyable to be a beginner with absolutely no expectation of performance. How fun
Oh,
is that?
yeah.
To just
Yeah.
try something new. Who cares how you do? And if you like it, keep doing it. And that's what
Yeah.
surfing's been for me. The other thing too is I'm not sure I would have had that same experience if I was in a wetsuit up in Northern California worried about sharks. Like
Mhm.
I was in the most glorious water, surrounded by the most beautiful people, and their philosophy in the Nicoya Peninsula, which is where I was, which is basically a blue zone in the world or an area where people live the longest and are the happiest, pura vida.
Yes.
That's it. And so you get out there on your board and people are just happy to be there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it felt the whole time.
Costa Rica is a really special place. My husband and I don't know when we went there first, but we've been there 3 times, twice by ourselves. And then we took our kids and oh man, it is. And the people there are just amazing. And they're happy. And it is a really, really special place.
I will say, I just want to add that it's a special place for a visitor. I'm not sure I could be driven there. I think if I lived there, I would just float. And
Okay.
that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's
Yeah.
okay too. And maybe that's what makes the happiest people who live the longest. They just kind of float. You know, they
Well,
they work every day, they do their stuff and they float.
yeah. I wonder though if that's one of the things that really draws you to that you said you've been there 3 years in a row because you have talked about you are all in. I mean, whatever you're doing, you are in it and it's almost maybe permission to float. And it's that space, that's that headspace of like, okay, we are not all in when we're here. We're just riding the wave.
Yeah. I mean, it could be very
Yeah.
much. And there's a lot to learn with the waves. It's different lessons than swim, bike, and run.
Yeah.
You don't control a whole lot out there. And
Yeah.
then once you actually get yourself up on the board, like it's just like a big celebration.
Yeah.
I'm up. Now what? Celebrate. Ride as
Stand up.
long as you can.
Yeah, I took surfing lessons in Hawaii several years ago. We were really lucky to have my husband's company at the time pay for a trip. And so I didn't do very well, but that's okay. That's okay. So I understand just a little bit of what you're talking about, but it is, I tell you what, I think there's a lot of metaphors in life for surfing for sure. Okay. I want to shift gears a little bit. So this past summer, I'm a personal trainer and I've been training women my age for years and years and years. The last few years, I've been working with teen girls, and the last couple summers, I'll do like a class, just a fitness class for teen girls, and I work with some volleyball athletes. And at the end, I would give them nutrition lessons, just to kind of help. Mostly it's like the same thing their moms are telling them, but it's just a different voice, so they'll listen a little bit more. And the last episode I did, or I'm sorry, the last lesson or class that I did, I wanted to kind of do something special. So I gave them 10 nutrition and body image lessons to my teenage self. And the girls really liked it. I got a lot of great feedback, and I actually ended up turning it into an episode that I released, I don't know when, a couple months ago. So I'm sitting here looking at you, and you have this vibrant, precious 8-year-old daughter named Wilder. And I'm wondering if you were to write a letter to Wilder with some either health or body image lessons, what would that you've learned across your 3-year years, what would you say to her?
Oh, that is a great question. I think I should do this. And it will be much more thoughtful than what I'm probably going to say, 'cause these are tough questions to answer on the spot. Um, like most young girls, I went through all the same insecurities and dealt with all the body image issues. And I didn't truly find happiness in my body until I became pregnant with this amazing 8-year-old girl that you talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's just that afterwards I was like, screw it. I don't have time to care what anybody else thinks. I'm too busy now, but I think probably there were a few things that when you find yourself thinking too much about the negative things about your body,
Yeah.
it's time to reframe. Earlier you said, I've always had these really strong thighs. Well, I actually thought my thighs were too big until one day. This was actually before Wilder, when I was a triathlete and I was considered one of the bigger girls,
Which is
and I was a
nuts.
normal size 6, or whatever. I was thin, but compared, that's the thing, to a lot of other people, I was. And, but I remember running up and down these really steep hills at the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon and passing the thinner, skinnier legged women and thinking to myself, my strength is my strength,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so my thighs aren't big, they're strong. And
Yeah.
that day when I reframed that, it changed something for me. So what I would probably tell her is come and talk to me whenever you're feeling anything that's less than positive about your body, because I've been there
Yeah.
and I want to help you reframe so that you don't have to worry your brain about things that don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such wasted energy. And, one of the reasons I did that is I feel like there's a lot of young women and teens who feel alone, and they look out and they think everybody else has it together and everybody else feels good and nobody else deals with that. And so, that's just part of my own passion is helping these girls know that they're not alone. And to me, I mean, even Nicole, I'm 45 and I'm sitting there listening to you and I'm like, Nicole DeBoom had body image issues. Like, I feel so much better. You know what I mean? Like, I think we all need a little bit of that sometimes, or maybe not everybody else, but I do.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I actually have only interviewed one person ever who said she didn't suffer from that.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So I think, I don't know. I wished, and I've always wanted to try to find a way to help my daughter avoid this completely. I don't know if it will happen. Right now, she loves herself, but she
Good.
also looks in the mirror and looks at me and says, "Do I look good? Do I look good in this? How does my hair look?" And she's doing that stuff. And, I think it's creating a really strong network of women like you, and other people who can help us gain strength and stay, keep I don't know, keep on the right course,
Yeah.
right? I will say that so many studies have come out that show that girls who participate in sports when they're young have a much less chance of engaging in risky behavior, which can be a result of the insecurities that we're talking about. So, let's keep them active. That's number
Yeah.
one. Don't give them time to think about it. And I will also say that when I was in college and I was studying this issue a little more, I did find that young women who engaged in sports where they had to wear a skimpy uniform, like a swimsuit or
Mhm.
gymnastics or figure skating, or where they were judged based on their performance, but they were judged instead of a time kind of or a point system,
Mhm.
they had more prevalence of things like eating disorders and negative self-image. So I'm not
Wow.
saying I don't want to put Wilder in swimming or gymnastics or something because that could happen, but we know that it makes sense, you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
can happen.
Well, and for whatever it's worth with you and Wilder, I interviewed a counselor several months ago, and we talked about raising your daughter with healthy body image issues. And I feel like I can have these conversations, Nicole, because I have two boys. So it's like I don't have any skin in the game. And I'm not betraying their trust or anything like that. And she said the one thing that is the most impactful is it's not what we as moms are saying about our daughters, but it's about what we're saying about ourselves and other people. So I think I know you well enough to know that she's hearing some good stuff.
She is, but if it was 15 years ago, she might not have,
Yeah.
and it took me maybe that's one good thing of having kids when you're old. But I will say you do have skin in the game by having sons
Well, I
because
do. Yeah.
there is a lot of this. I mean, people fall in love or are attracted to people of all genders, but my daughter already has like a crush.
Yeah.
She likes a boy, and I think she's starting to see in media how girls and boys relate and wanting to look good for other people. And that is a tough thing. I've got to put some thought into how to reframe that because it's not about looking good for other people. It's
Right.
about looking great for yourself or looking the way that gives you the most confidence, right?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a good point. And one thing as I've been on my own journey, I've really tried to instill in them, photoshopping and, which is now like filters, right? And kind of educating them and talking with them and making sure that I'm using the right language for them because God help me if they ever have the kind of standard that, you know, previous generations have had on for women. And, that's been really important to me too, right? Like I can't go through this process and not have them absorb some of it and use it in their own life.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, how do you raise boys who are feminists? And
Yeah.
by feminist, you're like, they believe that women have equal footing
Right.
and equal rights and are equals, right? And it's a really cool thing. I've seen boys and men wearing shirts that say, I'm a feminist. And I just think it's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So, that's what we want. We want to know that we're supported.
Right. Totally. Totally. It's not unlike, you know, we've had all this racial inequality and, it's not just the black community trying to take care of themselves. It's that they need the white community coming alongside of them and supporting them. So it's this
Yeah.
definitely the same concept. Okay. I want to honor your time. So I have one more question that I have recently started asking every guest. Um, I am fascinated by tattoos because I feel like there's a lot of meaning behind them. So my question is, and by the way, I had the most, and I wish I remembered her name. I met a girl on a skirt sports retreat, and she had this gorgeous phoenix on her left shoulder, and I was like, oh, that's really great. That's a great tattoo. Tell me about it. And she told me about the story. It's like representative of her dad, and she had just lost her dad. And it was just such, I mean, we're like both in line crying, waiting for our, coffee or whatever it was. So my question is, do you have any tattoos? And if so, would you mind sharing the meaning behind one of them? And if not, if you had to get one, what would it be and where and why?
Okay, so I do not have tattoos. However, I was like one of the first belly ring people in the world. Well, not, I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly, but I did get a belly ring in college. And that was kind of like crazy
Oh,
and out
like
there. And I
really
think I
edgy.
had
Yeah.
like 6 ear pierces in one ear and a few in the other. And, I was kind of doing my thing, but I never got a tattoo. I will say, as I got older, there came a day when the belly ring like rejected itself. Like I just felt like there was an energy stoppage right there. And I just knew one day I had to take that thing out. And I haven't worn earrings in probably 15 years because my ears also rejected having like hardware in them.
Okay.
Isn't that
Okay.
interesting?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's not, I mean, it is interesting, but not surprising. We change, our bodies are changing so much, and
totally.
the chemistry in them and all of that. Yeah.
Well, and even after not wearing earrings for so long, every once in a while, I'll be like, God, I feel like I have a little infection in where the hole was.
Wow.
It's so weird. It's like a place where my body just wants to spit stuff out. So I am like free and clear and naked in the piercings and tattoo range. But I would probably get like a rainbow heart
I love it.
because my whole perspective on life is about love and acceptance.
Hmm.
And it's about connecting and celebrating people. And I can't think of a better way to show that than through a symbol like a rainbow
Yes.
heart. And
Yes.
don't you think that'd be kind of cool?
That would. I
I
love
know.
it.
And then
Where
where
would you
would I
put it?
put it? Oh my gosh. I mean, probably, I don't know, maybe a shoulder. I
Okay.
like my shoulders. My shoulders are pretty awesome.
They really are.
So boom. And I don't look that good in t-shirts. I'm always wearing tanks, so it would always show and everyone would know what I stand for. I love it.
Well, I wear tanks a lot as well, but that primarily is because I sweat a lot. And so I learned a long time ago, if I just wear t-shirts, then I'm like all pitted out. So I wear a lot of tanks, and thankfully I have a lot of skirt sports tanks.
And you look
Like,
really good in them. And I'm loving your cabana dress today.
yes, yes. Well, it's funny. I was talking with my 16-year-old, and I said, I'm interviewing Nicole DeBoom, and you're like a household name around here. I was like, I'm interviewing Nicole DeBoom later. I was like, what do I wear? He was like, Mom, you wear skirt sports every day. Just wear whatever you have on right now, which was, capris and another shirt from my workout. I was like, well, I got to shower and wear something. So anyway, he was like, well, yeah, that's easy. You always wear it.
If you didn't wear skirt sports, I would have been mad.
Well, yeah, I mean, rightfully so. That's, but honestly, it's a lot of what I wear, Nicole.
Well, I will say, with this transition, going back all the way to the beginning here, transitions with the business. And, we didn't get into the last year or 6 months, but there was a major transition for me and a period of needing to let go of this beautiful thing I had created, but knowing in my heart that I needed to move my life in a different direction too.
Yeah.
And at the very tail end, I was so everything came together, to bring me a relationship with a new person who would take over and purchase my company, and is going to continue the wonderful lifespan that it had and keep making amazing products. And her name's Sarah Ratzliff. She is the owner of the Zuma Women's event
Yes.
series. So she's got a great vision. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better fit to be taking the product forward. We have a meeting tomorrow about the spring 21 line, and we got some tanks in there. So get
Awesome.
ready.
Yeah, I think, boy, I don't think that you could have picked a better partner. I mean, I listened to your episode with her, and she's fantastic. The Zuma series is wonderful. Actually, one of my great half marathon memories is they had one in south of Austin, and it was set in like a Hyatt Hill Country. So it was set back about 3 miles. And, again, I live in Houston. It's like flat as a pancake here. I mean, you have to intentionally go out and seek hills if you want to do that. So my girlfriend and I went and pulled into the resort, and it was just up and down and up and down and up and down. And like, it even had like the caution signs for trucks, like steep hill. And we're looking at each other like, truly like crying. We're laughing so hard. We're like, oh my gosh, we did not prepare for this one bit. And it was, I would call it an epic run for both of us. She was amazing. She finished really well. And she finished so fast that she was able to finish. She went back, showered really quickly, and then ran me in to beat the 2 mile or the 2 hour mark with the half marathon. But man, that was quite a race. But I've actually been thinking, I wasn't planning on saying this, but I'm like, it'd be really cool for the Grace Health community to kind of, if we wanted to all get together and do a half marathon together, and I would totally pick the Zuma in a heartbeat.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, it's on. We're doing it. 2021 events are going to happen again. They need to happen again.
I know they do. Oh yeah, the race environment is awesome. It's awesome. Okay, so there's a saying, Nicole, that I'm sure you've heard it. That's called the pebble never sees the ripple. And I wrote this down because I didn't want to mess it up. But I want you to know that your ripples are extending further than you ever imagined. I cannot let you go without thanking you for your leadership, your vulnerability as a person and as a leader, your modeling of joy and acceptance, and then creating a product that allows women to embrace and cherish their unique bodies. Your ripple just keeps on giving. And if you ever doubt that, go back and listen to the episode that you just did with Diane Berberian, who asked to come on your show because she learned she was dying of cancer, and she wanted to come back and talk to you, Nicole. Your podcast name is Run This World with Nicole DeBoom, and you are running this world well. So thank you so much for your time.
I feel very graced today. Thank you for allowing me to come on and have a conversation with you that pushed me and stretched me and helped me connect, because at the end of the day, those ripples wouldn't be here if we weren't connecting with each other. And I think that's why I was put on this planet, to help connect women and to celebrate them.
Yeah, totally. You have really fulfilled your purpose in life. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. I'm not going to ask you because I think everybody deserves a little time to figure it out, but I'm excited for your next chapter.
I appreciate that. You'll be the first to know. We'll do another episode.
Yes. All right, Nicole, thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy.
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed that so much. When we talk about the pebble never seeing the ripple, there's just so many elements to this. And I really want to encourage you to go check out Nicole's podcast, Run This World. If you have not yet heard it, she introduces her listeners to me, and me, to so many people. And it's a great hour of your day. Now, after we got off, we kind of continued chatting, and she said, it's funny that we talk about transitions. She said, in the transition zone in triathlon is often referred to as the fourth sport, and it's really the place where you win or lose the race. Now, I used to do sprint triathlons, which are just little bitty mini ones, and those made a huge, huge difference. And I have to say that's so fitting right now. And, Nicole, if you're listening, I want you to take all the time you need in this transition, because it is just going to set you up well for whatever race in life you run next. Hey, if you dig the show, could you do me a favor and head over to gracedhealth.com/monthly-updates. I'll put this in the show notes to receive a summary of all the shows released each month. Plus, and this is where I really have more fun, I share recipes and workouts and music and shows and sometimes bras. You just never know what you're going to get in these journals. All kinds of other things that I just think you'll love. This is the deal. I mentioned in our conversation today that I'm in the middle of writing a book. One of the most important metrics publishers use is how many people have shared their precious email addresses with you. I don't like getting too many email addresses or too many emails. I know you don't either. And so I'm really protective of mine. And I'll make you this deal. If you'll sign up for the monthly journal, I promise to respect it and not overload you with emails that don't serve you. I only send you things that I think you will find valuable. What's the one simple thing I want you to remember? And this is something I do in almost every episode. And boy, I got to tell you, it was hard to narrow this one down. But I think what I'm pulling from this is transformation can come from the transitions. Now, you may not experience the same transitions that Nicole has, but I bet you have had a few of your own. Maybe it's a change in your personal life or career, or your kids have launched. And with as crazy as the world is right now, I hope you can allow yourself to ride the wave, see what's on the other side, and possibly experience your own transformation. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.